Welcome to Behind the Beards, the podcast where real estate gets real messy, real funny, and sometimes just downright unpredictable. I'm Josh.
And I'm Nate. We're pulling back the curtain on the world of real estate. Whether you're an agent, industry professional, client, or you're just here for the chaos, you're in the right place. This is a real estate talk. Okay, let's talk about life, Josh. Let's talk about open houses. We both do them. We're both pretty successful with them, I think, right? Before anyone shows up or even gets to the weekend, like, how do you run a successful open house? Let's start like maybe at the beginning, right? When we're lining these things up. Go, man.
Yeah, no, there's a few parts to this, right? So the first step is identifying, if it's not your listing, find another person's listing in your office that's reasonably priced, that's not on the market for 200 days. If you're going to sit in open house for 3-4 hours, you want people to come there. That's the whole point, right? So that's the first thing. Identify a good property. The second thing is, obviously you need to get it marketed and you need to have your signs and put all your signs out. But what I do, and I know you do this too, because we always riff on this and tweak our kind of strategy to get the best results, is I door knock 250 homes surrounding the subject site that I'm going to hold the house open. So I knock on the doors. Now, it might be an area that they've already seen me, because I do door knocking. I farm with a partner of mine where we farm about 3,000 homes. So if I'm not doing it in that and no one's seen me ever before, it's all good. It's a great way for me to introduce myself as a real estate professional in the area, to meet their sellers, right? And I'm basically going to the door and inviting them to a big mega open house. I usually have food catering. I have, something there to like entice them to come, even if they're just going to come for the food, right? Which I don't care, because at the end of the day, I'm trying to meet more homeowners, right? Because that leads to more listings, that leads to more databases, that lead to more clients, right? So that's how I start from point A to B, right? Is identify the property, door knock 250 homes, get people really excited about it and meet a lot of people, and then go hold the open. You open up the door, and then there's some more that we need to talk about too once you're actually in there. But that's how I kind of prep. That's kind of how you do it as well, right?
Great question. Just to kind of back you up. Yeah, door knocking, right? Inviting the neighbors around the open house. Maybe it's a community that's a little more tight knit. You got a gated community or something like that. You definitely want to hit all the homes in there. And by the way, let's just throw this out there. I mean, door knocking, everybody, it's always going to be uncomfortable. I mean, you're walking up to people's homes and you're doing, but now you're not soliciting them. You're not selling them anything. You're inviting them to an event that's happening in their neighborhood. Their neighbors, they want to see how that home is updated. It affects their value. So bring something to benefit to that door, right? It's not just, hi, please come to my open house. We're going to have it there. We'd love to see you there. We'd love to get your opinion on how we set up the listing. Please stop by. This is who I am. Here's a flyer, right? Now, Josh, do you drop flyers as well? Like, or do you want to make sure you meet the homeowner when they answer the door? Let me ask you that.
Yeah, great question. So yeah, in a perfect world, if I'm knocking 250 doors, I want to have 250 conversations. Obviously, like face to face and like being in touch with them is better than just a flyer. But if they do not answer, I'm not going to necessarily come back to knock to make sure that they answer. So what we do on some of our higher caliber listings is we actually send mail. So we mail it out, and then we also hit the doors, right? So we do both. Now, if someone doesn't answer, we're going to leave a flyer. Yes, it's a bummer we didn't get to talk to that person, but at least they get our piece of mail, and maybe their neighbor mentions it to them, or they get wind of it in their Facebook group. To answer your question, I'll leave the flyer if they don't answer the door. And I do the same thing when I'm actually farming in our farms, like not for open houses. If they don't answer the door, obviously we want them to, we'll still leave a flyer, because it's still a piece of information, right? That's useful to the homeowner.
That's right. I love that too, because, people will come by and you'll hear that at the open house. Hey, you dropped a flyer. Sorry, we didn't answer the door. And it's funny, like in this day and age, when you knock on someone's door, it's very different than, decades in the past, right? Where people go, oh, thank you for that. Do you want to come in? A cup of coffee? Can I get you some? Now they're like diving behind the couch and going, oh, who's at the door? Right. And they're just, so we don't take any offense to you not answering the door, obviously, but it's great when someone does answer. And I know we've got some stories that we'll share as we move along. Okay, so that's like identifying the open house a week, maybe before, knocking the doors. And then during that week, that's the preparation. You're probably knocking doors on at least by Friday. Maybe you need to do a couple rounds if you're hitting 250 doors. So just for everybody out there, it's not just like Saturday, put the sign in the front yard and okay, hey, how you doing? I've been my laptop. There's an intentionality of that whole thing, right? And then signs, right? Real estate signs. I mean, I don't know. I haven't counted my signs lately, but I have tons of them, and they're all branded with my name. Not these open house signs that just say open house and you got them at Walmart or get some signs that. How many signs do you have roughly, and how many do you put out usually?
I have 12, and I usually put out every single one. An area that's a little bit more like desolate where I need more, we just piggyback off our team signs, right? If I need 20, I'll get another 8. But it's super important. And I mean, for agents out there, right? Open houses are literally the easiest way for you to get business, like now business, right? It's not like door knocking, what I do in my farms, that's long term, right? We're doing the same kind of thing for the open house, inviting, except it's more market update and value and events, and it's just consistency, right? Open house is literally like, if you don't know how to like, where's my next deal, do an open house every single weekend for the next 6 weeks, and I promise you're going to get leads that you're going to be able to close. If you're converting and doing your follow-up, which we'll dive into here, because I'm going to ask you a question. So when people come into your open house, I know you're like-minded like me. We're not you don't have sales breath, right? If you're like, are you working with an agent? They're going to be like, yes, I am, even if they're not. So what's your, like, from the second that first group walks through this, so I'm going to paint a picture, husband, wife, and their 2 kids walk in the door. I'm them. Let's role play a little bit. What's kind of your pitch to those people?
Yeah. So for me, I just going to come right out and say it. Don't be weird. Like, folks are coming in the house. You're going to be there for a while. I generally, first of all, want to do what I think I would like to have done, which is I've come to this open house. If I'm in their shoes, you don't know me, I don't know you. So the first thing is, you're at the house. Let's talk about the house. I give them the attributes, right? 3-bedroom, 2-bath, it's 2,000 square feet. This is what we're priced at. It sits on about a 1/4 acre. Hey, listen, how I like to do this. You guys are here. Thank you for taking your shoes off, whatever it is. I'm going to let you go explore, and then I'll connect up with you. But please, if you have any questions throughout your own self-guided tour, just shout at me. Because what I'm doing is I'm trying to make sure that I at least connect with everybody who walks through that door. And sometimes, we have open houses where there could be 5-10 people that show up at once. And that's really tough to do, let alone remember their names. So the other thing I'm doing is I'm walking around with pad and paper and I'm writing down their names and the color shirt they're wearing. Because when they come back through, Steve told me his name, I'm going to call him Steve instead of dude, man, or buddy. So there's like those little touches that go on, and that's highly intentional. And what that does is it takes the pressure off of them to answer any like crazy questions right away. Now I'm listening when I'm in the open house, right? I'm there. I'm kind of catching their conversations from afar. If I hear something that's starting to become like, oh, wow, why did they do it like this? Why did they do it like this? I'm kind of figuring they're coming back and answering that question. Backing it up a little bit, you and I always have our laptops up. We're not putting our nose in it the whole time, but we have all the comps. We know all of the active sales within a half-mile radius of that home. We know what's sold. We know we have all that data, because sometimes you'll meet people at open houses and they didn't like the house that you were in, but there's an active listing that's 2 streets over that has a 4th bedroom in it that they need instead of the 3-bedroom. And hey, I'm done here at 2:00. If you guys are still in the area, I'll line up that showing. I'm happy to take you over there. Now, you notice I haven't asked them if they had an agent yet, because in the end, if they hand me their agent's card, right, which is what I do for my buyers, if you're going to go to an open house without me, which I generally like to go with you if I can, my clients have a stack of cards. And what they do is they just go, here's my agent's card. And so if we have any questions, he'll reach out to you. So that's a good way, because I get that in my open houses too. And I tell people, hey, that's fantastic. We respect your loyalty.
I love when they make it easy on us, right? When they walk into the house and they're like, hey, or they sign in their agent. I'm like, great. We didn't have to do the dance. And because I also don't ask, are you working with an agent, right? I do the exact same thing as you. I have a notepad and a pen, something that I do, and I'm sure you get people to sign in. But when they walk through the door, sometimes, like you said, there's a lot of groups of people. So it's hard to captivate everyone and really pay attention. It's like, when you're on The Bachelor, like have you ever watched The Bachelor or The Bachelorette? Like they're dating 15 girls. Like, how do you get enough time for everyone? It's the same thing, right? I actually, when people walk in, right? I'm like, oh, where are you guys coming from, right? I try and like build some rapport, and right when they come in, I give them the pitch about the house. I'm like, oh, by the way, if you mind signing in just so I could stay compliant and I could talk to you about the house, that'd be great. And right off the bat, they always like, oh yeah, sure, let me sign in. And then
Yeah.
throughout the process, when I'm like letting them tour the house, like your point, I'm listening and I'm writing things down so that when they come back down the stairs into the kitchen, they're like, well, we didn't like that the property didn't have a loft. And in my mind, I know every house that's on the market. I know every house that's off market, that because we have a lot of off markets. That's our big value add. And I know the floor plans in those areas. You got to get super analytical on like the open house that you're doing. Know everything. Numbers is huge. Make yourself a professional in that area. Like you're a market expert. So knowing your numbers is everything.
So I want to go back. So the sign in is very important.
If they don't sign in, just naturally with the conversations I'm having with them about what their goals are and where they're coming from, where do you want to land, what kind of criteria you're looking for, at some point in the conversation, they're going to give me their information anyway because I have some sort of value. If I know that they don't like the house, but I know of an off-market property that they don't know about, I'm not going to waste time on this house because they're not the right buyer for it. So I'm naturally going to say, hey, I know of a property on 123 Apple Street that's actually 3 blocks this way. It's not on the market. And I think that's actually going to be a really good fit for you. They're like, oh, can you send it to me? Absolutely. Let me get your email.
I like what you're saying there because I do the same thing, just different, but it's the same concept. You're curious and you're adding value because you're actually asking them questions. So you're curious about their life, why they're even there. You might hear, oh, we're a neighbor. We just wanted to see how they did their kitchen. That's great because did you know that in this neighborhood, I offer free estimates of value, right? And then the conversation goes, well, we know what our house is worth. We went to Zillow. Or, hey, we've got a friend that's, a mortgage broker and he sends this value report. Yes, but I'm talking about like a real market value if you had to sell this home tomorrow. By the way, not saying you are, but it's just always nice to know where that is. And I do estimates of value, many of them each week for past clients. Sometimes I just send them off randomly because it's a good way to stay in touch with people. So the sellers, I'm just the neighbor talk. I'm going to spin it into here's what I can provide you with value, even though you're not looking to do anything and you're just being here and you're called yourself the nosy neighbor and whatever it is, you were just here to look to see what kind of tile they had in their kitchen. So there's that. And then the other item of value that I add, see, because you and I know the buyer's process better than most buyers that are walking into the open house, right? It's pre-approval. A lot of people don't listen to that. They just want to go out and look at homes. They tell you they have a time frame. Well, great. I know you have some technology and I have some technology that I use, and I just got smart and I just want, here's the word again, value, adding value. And I like to gift an item of value to people who come through the front door and connect. Thank you for doing that. Right. And then I tell them the funny story about how some people come into the open house and they walk in and they're looking for the realtor and they're like, doing this. Grab a flyer, dive roll over the back of the couch, crawl out the front door so you don't talk to them. I don't want to talk to those folks anyway. Again, I'm not going to be weird and you shouldn't be weird either because you're coming into an open house, which is someone's home. It's a place of business if you want to look at it like that. And so if you're at all rude, weird, just like disrespectful, you're probably not the type of person that most agents want to deal with, at least successful agents. I can tell you that right now. It's a little message to everybody out there that's going through open houses. But at the same time, the ones that are like, well, we got a 6-month thing. It's great. Okay, great. I appreciate you guys talking to me. Let me show you this piece of technology. And really what it is it's just a souped up version attached to our MLS that gives way more information than the consumer sites you'll see out there, right? I could probably mention it here. I don't think I'm going to get any copyright laws, but I use a system called Real Scout. There are other systems out there, right? And what's interesting is even if they tell me they have an agent, I'll say, great, I'm going to give you a free invite to it as well. My goal and our goal is to always make sure that clients out there are more educated than most real estate agents that are doing business. And I tell them the story. I'll give that Real Scout account out. Agent calls me and says, what is this Jedi stuff that you're giving my clients? Like, how do I get a hold of that? Because it really is a useful real estate tool, not just the fluff that any consumer can go out there and get. It's tied to the MLS, real-time updates. school ratings. It gives you even some NHD stuff in there, natural hazards disclosure. So if you're like in a flood zone, fire zone, things like that. It's a technology piece that gives real up-to-date information. With that, they leave with an item of value. And also, let's talk about this, Josh, real quick. How do you give your information to someone at the open house? Like, they can get it from the flyer. They could do it like that, right? How do you do that? Because I've got a little trick I use, but I want to hear what you have.
My main goal is to get their info, not them have mine. And they're going to have mine on the flyer. They're going to have my business card. Depending on the prospect at the time in the open house, I will personally get out my phone and be like, let me just text you quickly so we have each other's number. People like what they don't have access to, right? So for instance, authenticity and really hardworking. If they had a bad situation with an agent, your value could just be simply being you, your experience that you shared, the fact that you're a professional, you're eager to help them. You're telling them, hey, you're 8 months, you're 6 months to a year out. No problem. We're going to start the process. Let's set up a meeting in my office so I could actually go through it. I'm so sorry that your last agent pressured you after seeing 3 homes. I'm so sorry. So that's it's case by case basis how I give out my number, but I really, really want to get their information. That's the most important part, because the follow-up, this is our next category, is everything, right? So we've talked about prep, finding the right open house, putting your sales signs up, doing your knocking, exposing the hell out of that open house to get the most people in there. And obviously then we also talked about conversing, getting people to sign in. I actually do a little something where I star people, right? Like if someone has 5 stars, that's I picked up a really good client. And they're on the top of my follow-up list, right? I'll follow up with everyone, but not everyone's going to get the same type of follow-up. Something really good that I provide in my open houses that really attract people is the fact that I have off-market opportunities. It's huge. My niche is off-market opportunities and the fact that I go above and beyond for my clients, and I'm going to work my ass off for you, right? That's just the authentic part where they just naturally will gravitate toward my energy. And if they're not working with an agent, they're going to want to work together, right? The follow-up, let's dive into that, because that's huge too. A lot of people, I see a lot of agents, they'll even hold some of my, even some agents on my team where I have to coach, where they'll get 2 sign-ins and they're like, I had 2 people at my open house and now it's Monday. And I follow up as hey, did you reach out to them? I was they weren't interested. I say, did you get their sign in? He's like, they wouldn't give me their contact info. They didn't do the right thing in the open house. They got 2 people in there. I know it's not a lot, but you weren't able to get a sign in. Now you're just banking on them calling you. That's the wrong approach. So my follow up, if I'm doing an open house and I get 10 people to walk in, if I get 8 out of 10 contacts, I'm happy. Like you said, there's going to be people that come in like this, where's the agent, and do a freaking a front flip Mission Impossible over the couch. And they're just literally running through the house and run out. We're not going to chase you. You're not my client. So the follow-up is huge. So let's kind of dive into this. So I have my 8 out of 10. I have my 5-star, top 3 prospects. I always call kind of on a Monday morning. I leave a voicemail if they don't answer. I send a text and I'll send a nice email. And then I'll wait. I'm not going to bombard you, right? And a lot of the time I'll get people to answer. If they don't answer, they're going to call me back later that day or the next day. And then I start the process to really nurture those people, start trying to book appointments, right? I mean, the end goal is to get that buyer in a meeting with you in your office, do a buyer's consultation, whether they're 6 months, a year, 2 years out, doesn't matter. Sign a buyer rep, show your value, and sign that contract and start working with them. That's how I do the follow. I mean, the follow-up it's the same thing in my door knocking, right? I know we're not talking about specifically farming, but it's nice when you hit a house 10 different times and they get your mail all the time, but it's if you're not outreaching too, hey, is there anything I can do for you, right? Or just following up with them, you're leaving money on the table. You gotta that's the hard part about this business, is nurturing. We are nurturers. It's lead generation is really hard in itself, but once you actually have the lead, if you don't nurture it, that lead's gone. They're gonna work with someone who's gonna nurture them more.
What makes most sense is that, people in daily life, if you're not doing what we're talking about as real estate agents, that's fluff, right? Because it's I connect with you on Instagram, I'm going to do this, whatever, right? that's like our job, is to make connections and do it correctly. And then that piece of technology I send out, by the way, I use an electronic open house sign in, because what I tell them is that system is going to send you a free invite. Now, really what I'm doing, and this goes into follow-up, so I'm going to back you up here. I'm taking that information home, and then I'm setting them up a basic search in that system. But now I have their phone number, I have their email address. I can kind of see what they're kind of gravitating towards. They sometimes call me back, say, can you adjust the search? Again, we're not looking to do anything for like 6 months. That's totally fine. There's always a process to it. And so, yeah, what I do with that sign-in is I try to take it home. Let's say I have 4 sign-ins, 8 sign-ins. I just go knock it out and just get that invite out the same day. And then I text them, because I tell them I'm going to text you when the invite goes out, because the sender's actually going to be the actual platform itself, and it might dive into your bulk. So I want to give you the heads up that it's there, right? So it's like really intentional and really strong with, being able to follow up. There you go. There's 2 touches after you met them. So that's it right there. Look, it's a numbers game, right? You're not going to convert even 100% of those, or even 50% of those, right? But what you're doing is you're honing in your skills. And really what it is, it's not conniving. You're not going to blow them up and call them every 5 minutes after that. You're actually interviewing them too, right, Josh? You're saying, hey, you know what? Let's see where this relationship goes.
It's a dating period.
Exactly. And there's that curiosity part with it too, right? And sometimes you'd be surprised what you hear. I'll say this. Hey, no one's ever, talked to me like that before. Gosh, I've never met an agent like you, right? Or hey, I've had bad experiences with other agents, and wow, you're honestly breath of fresh air. You knew everything about the product. Oh, and you do more. You're an ex-mortgage guy. Oh, so you understand the whole process of mortgages as well. Gosh, sorry, sister-in-law who does 2 deals a year. I can't trust you to do this with me, right? We're gonna call Nate. And look, sometimes even agents will call me and they'll go, they met you, they like you. Would you mind paying me a referral fee? All day long. I'll do it. If you're that up on how it works here in this industry, and you're like, okay, I might lose the deal, and Nate met them, and they met this guy Nate, or they met this guy Josh at the open house. Hi, it's Cindy. I've only had my license for 6 months. Would you just mind paying me a referral fee, because it's I actually was going to work with them, but they really like you? Absolutely. So good message out there, right?
And I think for all agents that are listening out there, because this can be of good knowledge to you, like, find what your value is. Find what your value. It might be the Real Scout platform. It might be that you have off markets. It might be that you're going to go door knock your socks off for that person on the specific street that they want. Just find your niche and find your value and work hard, right? You can't expect to just do one open house and pick up a client, and I'll pivot to just a quick story, because I think it's important for the audience to hear a success story of how it happened. What was the timeline from when you met that potential open house buyer? And we have many clients that we picked up from open houses, but I'll give a quick story. So I had a listing in an area called Carmel Valley. It was $2.7 million. This wonderful couple came in with their 3 daughters. They were from the East Coast, and they were looking to make a purchase in San Diego. The listing that I had, it wasn't big enough, and it wasn't the right home for them. And that what I gauged from them is that they were looking for something that's more elevated, right? Which is a higher price point. I really built rapport with the husband and wife right off the bat, and I was listening to them. So as soon as I knew that they were not interested in this house, I was not going to sell them this house. They did not want me to sell them well, did you see there actually are 3 bedrooms upstairs? The kids will be fine. No, that's not going to get us anywhere. I'm listening to the client. They don't like this house. No problem. By the way, I have 5 off-market opportunities within this neighborhood through my door knocking that I can show you. And they're like, wow, that'd be great. It turned out that they didn't want that neighborhood anyway. They wanted an elevated neighborhood, like a gated community, right? So from start to finish. So anyway, the next day I had an amazing conversation with them. They were going back to the East Coast like a few days later. So they're like, hey, Josh, we really liked you. Our friends actually did give us a recommendation for a real estate broker. He hasn't called us back yet. So that was a red flag for us. And we love you. And we weren't even just going to open houses to meet people. We were just trying to look at neighborhoods and everything. And we want to use you. Can you help us set up a tour? And then, something that also got them too is we're also kind of interested in Orange County. Is that too far for you? I said, absolutely not. But yes, it's an hour and a half drive. But so what did we do? The next day, we're like, let's go look at 6 properties in Orange County. They followed me in their rental car. Huge value, right? Dropped a bottle of wine at one of the showings. I had a bottle of wine for them because they were leaving the next day. And then they went back, right? And then we were just in contact for like 2-3 months. They have a big business out there and really successful, down to earth people, entrepreneurs, like literally the best people, and one of my best clients. And anyway, like it took about, I would say, about like 6 to 8 months that we found the right one and we were negotiating this deal. I was at that listing, it was 2.7 million. I ended up closing on a purchase in 2023 for 4.1 million. And then they never ended up moving into the house. They wanted me to rent it out. Things changed. They bought another commercial building for their business. And they're like, Josh, can you rent it out? I said, absolutely. So I rented it out for them for 2 years. And then came a time when the tenants left, they needed to sell it. So I sold that property actually off market for 4.5 million. So from that one open house that I sat, I did $8.6 million worth of business from one client. And they're a client for life. They didn't end up moving here, but when they do, I know that they're going to call me. And we're always in chat, or we're always talking, conversing when they're in San Diego. If they're not looking at properties, we're going out to dinner, we're getting the kids together. We're friends now. And it was a cold open house story, and just because being myself, being a professional, I converted that lead, and it's going to lead to many more deals, down the road. And it just shows you, like, just don't be weird, be yourself, find your niche, find what value you have. And even if you do find all of that, it's like you said, it's a numbers game. You're not going to find that big whale client every single time, but you might find a buyer, even a $600,000 buyer that refers you a big client, right? So it's a numbers game, and just put in the time and the effort when you're there at those open houses, and I promise you're going to get results. And feel free to reach out to Nate and I, guys, if you have any questions and you just want to role play with us. Like, we're open to. That's why we're doing this podcast. We're doing this for the industry. We want to better the industry. We want consumers to be more educated, and we want buyers to obviously use Nate and I on every single deal, obviously. But that's why we do this, and we enjoy it, and it's for the people.
Well said. I think, when you were telling your story, there are numbers of stories that go through my head that, oh, shoot, I did meet that person at the open. Oh, wow. Yeah, no, and that person's referred me 3 people. Just the other day, one quick story, and then I want to make sure we switch gears a little bit. After we talk about follow-up, right? We just sold a house. It's a very recent story. We just sold a house in a nice little neighborhood, and we had knocked all the doors. We had invited to open houses, and a few people that answered the door, I made sure we made a nice flyer, just letting everyone know that the home had sold. It was a remodeled home. It's set another record in that neighborhood. Very nicely done. We want to let everyone know it sold with multiple offers and over the asking price. Okay. So we made enough flyer, went back through the neighborhood. Sure enough, knocked 100 doors in that little community there. Right at the end, everyone's like, okay, cool, thank you. And a couple people that I'd met before, very nice. I chatted with them and just talked about normal life stuff. And like, you said you would have. Last door I knocked, the one house is across the street. The daughter was there, invited me into the house because there's an elderly person that lives there. Estimate of value, that's going to be a listing in a couple months.
So it wasn't even you actually at the open house. It was you doing the door knocking for prep that's going to lead you to getting a listing. I mean, if that doesn't show you open houses and farming and door knocking actually works, I don't know what does.
Right. Now I had the other 90 something homes were like, yeah, thanks for letting us know. Great job. Pat on the back, right? Again, it's all part of the repetition. It's just a fun realization to do that. And it's not like, oh my gosh, that's the diamond in the rough and that's why we continue to do it. Really, the mission is we have information, education, experience that will help those buy and sell homes and this kind of topic here, right? And just knowledge of the overall industry that we're happy to share and give away for free and talk about. So if that doesn't show, professionalism and enthusiasm for what we do, I don't know what does. Question of the day, because this is what we do all the time. Josh, what would you do? What would you be doing if you weren't a real estate agent?
Wow.
Hear what your profession might be in a different life.
I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I love people. So I think I'd either be like, running a car salesman place, like being a manager at a car salesman place, or in hospitality at a hotel, being like running a hotel, face to face with people, shaking hands, making people happy. I'm a people's pleaser. I like to make people happy. I like to provide value. I like when people like have a great result and I get a good review. That's really a win for me. So I think I'd thrive in that kind of industry. I'd be a great Trader Joe's bagger too. You know, I'd be the most fun person that you'll ever meet that day, because I'd be dancing at that line, and I'd shoot the shit with them, and I'd probably get a couple listings out of, who knows, maybe I'll work at Trader Joe's on the weekend if the real estate market goes a little stale. So catch me at Trader Joe's, baby.
I think for me, I would have loved to just be in the music business. I think it's just such a cool business to me, and it's really cool because I think real estate, like anything else, right? It's a people business, and there's a lot of interesting people that are in it, and they could be other musicians or sound technicians. You know, just everything that comes from a full production of music, whether it's a live show or like now. I mean, man, you talk about the music industry changing from like when I was a kid in the 80s till now. Wow. I mean, it's just like so different, and there's just consistent new ways to get your music out there and do it. So
hold on, let's recap. So we got hospitality, car salesman, Trader Joe's if all else fails, and then we're starting a duo behind the Beards band that will travel the country and just go rock out. Rock out!
That's right. We'll turn the studios into a nice recording studio for that. Always good to be with you, Josh. I know we've thrown a lot out today, and open houses, doing them successfully is really important. Don't be the agent that's sitting there on your laptop and not paying attention to anyone. You might as well not even do them. All right, my man. All right. We'll see you soon, buddy.
Until the next one. See you, man.
Thank you for tuning in to Behind the Beards. If you've enjoyed today's episode, do us a favor. Subscribe, leave a comment, and share it with someone who'd enjoy what you've heard here today.
You can also connect with us on social media or send us one of your own real estate confessions, because who knows, you might just hear it on the next episode.
We'll catch you next time, where we keep it real, keep it honest, and always behind the beards.